and dragons still roam the sky. As King Viserys Targaryen nears death with no living male sons to name his heir, he convenes a great council to help him name his successor. They choose to pass over Jaehaerys' eldest grandchild, Princess Rhaenys, to appoint a male ruler, Jaehaerys' eldest grandson, Viserys. Years after Jaehaerys' death, King Viserys is also without a male heir, though he does have a loving relationship with his headstrong teenage daughter, Rhaenyra. Without a son, Viserys' current heir is his brother Daemon. Viserys' Hand of the King, Sir Otto Hightower, hates Daemon for his undiplomatic ways and penchant for violence, and insists that Viserys find a better suitor for the throne. Otto does have some reason to be concerned, as Daemon uses his ally and sometimes paramour, the White Worm Mysaria, to command her network of spies to advance his schemes. When Viserys' wife Aemma becomes pregnant, Viserys is confident that he will finally have a son and throws a massive tournament in celebration. During the tournament, Rhaenyra and her best friend, Otto's daughter Alicent, both become enamored with the young knight Criston Cole, who bests the great warrior Daemon in both jousting and melee. Unfortunately, Aemma falls ill and Viserys urges the maesters to perform an emergency surgery, killing his wife but saving his son. When that son Balon dies mere hours later, Viserys is left an emotional wreck over his decision that cost him his great love. Daemon mocks the death of Balon, calling him heir for a day, before being confronted by Viserys. When Daemon calls his brother a weak king who is merely Otto's puppet, Viserys banishes him from King's Landing and officially names Rhaenyra as heir to the throne. The lords of Westeros obey their king's command and swear fealty to Rhaenyra as heir, though choosing a female successor leaves many questioning Viserys' decisions. Having officially named Rhaenyra his heir, Viserys then tells his daughter about a prophecy from the first Targaryen king, Aegon the Conqueror, of an unstoppable deadly threat from the north that could only be defeated by a Targaryen sitting on the Iron Throne. Rhaenyra is also now allowed to use her voice at small council meetings, but is constantly ignored by the other members. She bestows upon her crush, Sir Criston Cole. Although her father is seen as a decent king, he is also viewed as weak and slow to action. Rhaenyra believes the Targaryens are strong dragon riders who should instill confidence and awe in their people. Meanwhile, Otto forces his teenage daughter Alicent to console Viserys in his grief. Viserys' sister Rhaenys and her husband, the Master of Ships Corlys Velaryon, want the recently widowed Viserys to marry their daughter Laena. The Velaryons and Targaryens are both from the original line of dragon-riding Valyrians, and therefore have a long history of allegiance. Instead, Viserys chooses to marry Alicent, fracturing her and Rhaenyra's friendship and infuriating the Velaryons, who turn to Daemon to propose an alliance. 3 years later, Daemon and Corlys lead forces in the Stepstones to defeat the villainous Crabfeeder, whose evil alliance known as the Triarchy have been attacking Westerosi ships and supplies. Daemon proves himself in battle to upstage his brother and win the support of the other Westerosi lords. But instead of basking in his victory, Daemon is swayed by his love for his brother and returns to King's Landing to reconcile with Viserys. Back at home, Daemon is also reunited with his niece Rhaenyra, who he has a great affection for both familially and romantically. Viserys and Alicent now have a young son Aegon, while Alicent is pregnant with another. Despite now having a potential male heir, Viserys assures Rhaenyra his intention to keep her as his successor. Though in secret, Otto schemes to have his grandson, the young Aegon, usurp Rhaenyra as heir. Viserys stresses to Rhaenyra the importance of marrying her to a powerful political ally, and so Rhaenyra is forced to see many potential suitors, including Jason Lannister, the twin brother of the politically cunning Tywin Lannister. Rhaenyra has no interest in her many suitors, and when Daemon encourages her to explore her sexuality, she seduces her childhood crush Criston Cole, despite his Kingsguard vow to never take a romantic partner. When Viserys learns of his brother and daughter's growing fondness for each other, and Daemon's encouragement of Rhaenyra's independence and sexual liberation, he accuses Daemon of wanting to marry Rhaenyra to one day claim the throne for himself. And so Viserys banishes his brother once again, exiling him to the Vale to live with the wife he was forced to marry out of duty, whom he subsequently murders to take control of her family land. Viserys then forces Rhaenyra to marry Laenor Velaryon, the son of Rhaenys and Corlys, to mend the rift between the houses. When Rhaenyra accuses Otto of manipulating the king, Viserys removes him as hand and replaces him with the good-intentioned Lionel Strong. Having ruined his honor for love, Criston offers to run away with Rhaenyra to start new lives together in peace. But Rhaenyra turns him down, offering to be Laenor's wife in name only, while taking Criston as her lover. Criston turns down the offer and is heartbroken, harboring a newfound bitterness for the woman he feels stole his honor. Otto warns Alicent that her sons pose a threat to Rhaenyra's claim to the throne, and therefore Rhaenyra will always be a danger to their family. Criston becomes a trusted ally to Alicent, and the two encourage a bitterness toward Rhaenyra in each other. As Rhaenyra and Laenor prepare to marry, Laenor confesses to Rhaenyra his secret homosexuality, and they both agree that their marriage will be one of only strategy and convenience. At their wedding, Laenor's secret lover Joffrey speaks to Criston, thinking they are both in the same situation of being paramours. But Criston sees this as blackmail and a threat to his public honor, and brutally murders Joffrey in front of the entire wedding reception. 10 years later, Rhaenyra and Laenor now have 3 sons, Jace, Luke, and Joffrey, but all 3 have dark brown hair instead of the silver blonde hair of a Targaryen or Velaryon. Otto and Alicent insist to the ailing King Viserys that the children are bastards, but Viserys refuses to believe this and publicly supports his daughter. Secretly, Rhaenyra has been having a years-long affair with her lover Sir Harwin Strong, the son of Viserys' hand Lionel. The spiteful Criston goads Harwin into a fight, publicly accusing him of fathering Rhaenyra's bastard children. This dishonorable confrontation leaves Harwin disgraced, and he is forced to bid Rhaenyra and his secret children farewell to return to his family home of Harrenhal alongside his father Lionel. Meanwhile, Otto has further corrupted Alicent against Rhaenyra, and she is now confident in her beliefs that her eldest son Aegon should be the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Alicent confides in Lionel's scheming son Larys of her desire to see her father Otto reinstated as Hand of the King. To prove his usefulness to Alicent, Larys hires assassins to burn down his family home, tragically killing his own father and brother to ensure Otto is renamed Hand of the King. Elsewhere, Daemon is now happily married to Corlys and Rhaenys' daughter Laena, and they have 2 young daughters, Baela and Rhaena. They live in Essos in peace, all confident and powerful dragon riders. Unfortunately, Laena has complications during her 3rd pregnancy and dies, leaving Daemon a depressed widower and single father. Rhaenyra and Daemon, both grieving their lovers, are reunited after years apart and begin a romantic relationship of their own. At Laena's funeral, Alicent's 2nd son Aemon claims Laena's dragon Vhagar as his own. This devastates Rhaena, who believes her mother's dragon should rightfully be hers. Rhaenyra's children come to their cousin's aid and confront Aemond, resulting in an altercation that ends with Luke slicing out Aemon's eye with a knife. Alicent is enraged by this act and goes to her husband to seek retribution, but Viserys refuses to act against Rhaenyra's children. Alicent instead finds comfort in her father Otto, who has been reinstated as Hand of the King. As Alicent and Otto gather support to have the male Aegon sit the Iron Throne, Rhaenyra seeks help from Daemon to rally support for her own claim. The two help Laenor fake his own death in order to run away to live a life in peace with his new boyfriend, allowing Rhaenyra and Daemon to marry each other and strengthen their position in the Targaryen dynasty. 6 years later, the aging Viserys has grown weak and sickly, leaving Alicent and Otto in charge of his political duties. The young Prince Aegon spends his days drinking and sleeping around, despite now being married to his own sister Helaena, who is also now the mother of his young children. Meanwhile, Criston trains Aemon to be a skilled and ruthless warrior. With everyone aware of his impending death, Viserys' entire family comes to his side and puts on a front of reconciliation. Daemon even helps Viserys keep his crown on his head and shows strength in public to the residents of King's Landing, proving that despite years of strife, the brothers never stop loving each other. Over a family dinner including Viserys, Daemon, Alicent, Rhaenyra, and all of their children, the nostalgic happiness is interrupted by the antagonistic Aemond mocking Rhaenyra's children as bastards, inciting a fight between all of the children that must be interrupted by Daemon. That night, as Viserys begins to succumb to death, he speaks with Alicent, thinking she is Rhaenyra, and rambles about Aegon the Conqueror's prophecy of a northern threat and his desire to support her claim to the throne. As Viserys finally dies, the mistaken Alicent believes that it was her husband's dying wish to support their son Aegon as the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Before Viserys' death can be made public, Otto and Alicent convene the small council and scheme to have the young Prince Aegon usurp Rhaenyra as the new ruler of Westeros. When small council member Lord Beesbury refuses to go along with the plot, Criston Cole murders him, proving his loyalty to the Hightowers and earning the rank of Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Alicent's loyal and scheming ally Larys burns down Mysaria's brothel in an attempt to shut down her network of spies and the King's Landing intel it could provide to Daemon. Otto forces all of the nobles in King's Landing to bow down to their newly crowned King Aegon, imprisoning and hanging anyone who refuses. Unfortunately, Rhaenys Velaryon is in King's Landing during the Hightower coup, and is arrested for refusing to swear fealty. She is rescued by Eric Cargill, a member of the Kingsguard loyal to Rhaenyra, despite his twin brother Arik swearing loyalty to Aegon. Rhaenys and Eric arrive in Dragonstone to inform Rhaenyra of Viserys' death, and the coup staged by the Hightowers and their Green Council. This news shocks and devastates Rhaenyra, who is now pregnant with Daemon's child, but she tragically goes into premature labor and delivers a stillborn baby. Despite her weakened state, the inhabitants of Dragonstone, including the bitter Corlys and Rhaenys Velaryon, rally around Rhaenyra as their queen and support her son Jace as her heir. As Daemon calls for Rhaenyra's Black faction to go to war with the Hightower Greens to take back King's Landing, the young princes Jace and Luke are sent on their dragons to rally support from all of the noble houses in Westeros. Luke arrives and storms in to persuade Lord Boros Baratheon to pledge his allegiance to Rhaenyra, but unfortunately discovers that Aemon Targaryen has already arrived to convince House Baratheon to instead support King Aegon. As Luke leaves on Dragonback, the vengeful Aemon attacks with his own dragon, seeking retribution for Luke slashing out his eye years ago. But instead of a simple eye for an eye, Aemon's dragon Vhagar disobeys its rider's commands and devours both Luke and his dragon, killing them instantly. Rhaenyra is devastated upon learning of her son's death, the first of many deaths in a war that will soon be known as the Dance of Dragons.